So very good evening to you. Welcome to your World, the show that looks at all things money markets and investments. My name is Kudzai Film Chanjekwa, your host. And today I'm joined by Trinity Mukewa, who is an economist, analyst, and also an SME expert who is going to be helping us to unpack on how SMEs can survive in this economy we have in Zimbabwe, considering that we are now in the sixth month of the year, and we should be seeing, results in these businesses. So we just want to dive a little bit on how SMEs, to those who are struggling, how can they survive? To those who are doing good, how can they continue, doing good in their business? So today we're going to be unpacking all of that. Good evening, Trinity.
Good evening, Kudzi.
Awesome. Let me get straight into my first question. What are the key competitive challenges that SMEs face in today's economic environment, particularly in Zimbabwe?
Okay, thank you. I think we need to understand first and foremost what an SME is.
Right.
Because an SME is defined in different ways depending on the country. In SME in Zimbabwe, in SME in European countries or advanced economies may not be an SME in Zimbabwe, may be considered a large corporate.
Okay.
So small to medium size enterprise in Zimbabwe, according to SIDCO, they define it according to number of employees,
Right.
where they say that an SME must employ maybe a corporate which employs less than 100 employees.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
It also is also defined in terms of balance sheet, where they say that the balance sheet of an SME must not exceed 100,000 United States dollars. It can also be defined in terms of revenue, where they say that an SME must have a revenue of less than or equal to 240,000. So that's very important to understand what's an SME is before we even talk of the challenges that they face.
They face.
So moving on to that, I will then answer the question that you have asked of the challenges these SMEs face competitively in Zimbabwe. Well, there are a cocktail of them.
Okay.
From experience, I'm also, like you said, I'm also into SME.
SMEs, all right.
Yes, we've got a number of issues that we face in the day-to-day running of our businesses.
Okay.
Number one, I would say a capital. Of course, that's obvious. Financing is difficult for SMEs in Zimbabwe because number one, they do not have the prerequisites of which can make them access this financial help from banks or financial institutions in Zimbabwe. You will find that one of the major prerequisites are collateral and credit rating. You would find that many of SMEs, many of them, they do not have a proper track record of their incomes.
Okay.
They are spending. They are not banking as well. So it gives them, a disadvantage when it comes to being considered for financial assistance from established institutions like banks.
Right.
Then you talk about collateral. They lack collateral to securitize their loans.
All right.
That's number one.
That's number one. Okay.
Number two, we have infrastructure deficiencies.
Okay.
SMEs who are into production, they suffer a lot when there's power outages. It increases their production costs. It also, it reduces their targets production. It just reduces production itself. Besides just increasing also the cost of production.
Right.
Okay. Then again on that infrastructure deficiency, we talk about transport system. The government has been trying to improve on roads. That's commendable, but with SMEs, you need to meet your targets. You need to meet deliverables, and transport infrastructure is a key thing when you're doing business.
Okay.
Then we also have an issue of policy inconsistency from the regulatory authorities of the government, where regulations changes. You, it becomes difficult for planning to SMEs. We also have another problem of macroeconomic stability. It's too volatile. Change of currencies. For now, it has been stable since the introduction of the ZIG last year, April. But you see, it's difficult to plan financially when there's macroeconomic volatility. So it's also another challenge which the small to medium enterprises are facing, because their planning is limited to short term and not even long term. And you know that a business can only convert from losses to profitability in the long term, and it is hardly done in the short term. So I would say that those are some of the issues that we are facing as small to medium enterprises. I would not want to leave also again the issue of markets. We tend to suffer from competition from larger corporates, so and also informal traders. Because remember, when you're talking about small to medium-sized enterprise, we are talking of those which are formally compliant. But also this market was infested with with informal sector who come with cheap products and cause stiff competition to operations of the SMEs. So stiff competition from informal traders is also a challenge. I think in a nutshell, and I hope you can get what.
All right. Well, thank you very much for laying out those challenges. I believe we do have SMEs who, SMEs owners who are watching, and they do agree with you when you, spelling out all those challenges that they're facing. When we come back in the second segment, I just want us to then dwell much on the issue of innovation, considering the challenges that you have mentioned, how innovation is important in regards to, the survival of SMEs. So we'll dwell much on that in the second segment. Thank you very much, viewers, for joining us for the first segment of Your Wealth. We'll be right back shortly. Welcome back to the second segment of Your Wealth. I'm joined by Trinity Mukewa, who is an economic analyst, who's going to be helping us to unpack on how SMEs can survive in such an economy, and also to see how SMEs can grow as they do their business. Now, I was just talking about the issue about innovation. How important is innovation to SMEs who are trying to survive and thrive in a competitive market?
Okay, because I would tell you one thing. Innovation is the panacea to all the challenges that I've mentioned before. This is the only way you can circumvent all these challenges. For example, we will look at it in terms of finances. You cannot just sit down and cry that we have no financial backup, or there are no financial institutions we are willing to lend us money. But we have to come up with sophisticated ideas, how to, how to get our business financed. Okay. For example, number one, instead of relying on the old banking institutions or old financing from the banks, you can come up with associations. Okay. Maybe in a different sector, you are small to medium enterprises in transport. You form an association where each and every member contributes. You use that as your own capital to improve your own businesses. So innovation is part of circumventing the issues of difficulties in getting finance. We talk about customer management. Number one lifeline of an SME is retain customers. So you need to improve on customer satisfaction. How do you do that? We use technological advancement tools these CRMs, customer relationship management systems. You improve your efficiency. Improving efficiency will then cut costs in your operations. You are now, when you cut costs, number one step of getting to profitability is to cut costs.
Okay.
So once you introduce efficiency in your operations, your supply chain management should be on point, customer retention, customer satisfaction, data collection on or data analytics of your customers should be on point, should be on check. You should be adapting. You should be constantly adapting, checking trends, and gathering all this information. Be innovative. Try to do something to retain customers, number one, so that you get continuous flow of cash flows.
Okay.
Because I'll tell you one thing, what makes SMEs struggle is poor cash flow management.
Okay.
So that's where you need to put your eye on. You need to focus on that. You need to make sure that even though there is no financial assistance, whatever you are gaining, are you directing it direct to what you need as a business, not what you want. You need to improve your business. You need to focus on things that brings you revenue. When you sell on credit, you need to make sure you make follow-ups promptly, so that you make your cash flow be flawless and be consistent.
Okay.
So there is really need for innovation to circumvent all these challenges. Then
Well, before you proceed, you talked about creating associations, and I just want to find out that this is a way of collaborating.
Yes.
If we may put it that way. Now, in what ways can collaboration, among SMEs improve their ability to compete?
Right. We are in business, and in business there are big guys, and you are small guys. You need to, because when you fight, when you're in the same arena with big guys, when you are not collaborating, you spread yourself too thin.
Okay.
You do not have capacity.
All right.
Okay. So when you collaborate, you'll be able to tap into different markets that you do not have capability to tap into. For example, I'm telling you right now that a few SMEs have got the capability to tap into export markets.
Okay.
But when you collaborate, you get that capability. That's number one. You increase or improve the capability to tap into bigger markets.
Okay.
That's number one. Number two, when you're in association or a collaboration, you can advocate for favorable conditions, operating conditions, even with authorities and regulatory authorities and the government. You come as an association, you raise your issues that you're facing, these challenges, or even attracting financial assistance. If you approach an institution as an association that you want assistance in this certain area, I think you are better understood than coming as an individual, because number one, we want to be honest, most SMEs are not keeping records.
Yeah.
They are not even networking.
Okay.
How can you get how can you be linked to anyone who would want to finance your project if you're not even networking? So collaboration brings all these things: networking, tapping into bigger markets which you do not have capability to do that, then also attracting new financial assistance into the project.
All right. Well, interesting. This actually points out, the issue of competition in Zimbabwe, because as you're saying, not so many SMEs coming together, working together, and also just collaborating in order for them to grow big. And I think what you have spelled out will now encourage some SMEs to see the advantages of also collaborating as they move on with their business. Now, we were talking about innovation, and I just want to talk a little bit about the digital side of it. How can SMEs leverage on digital tools and technology to gain competitive edge?
Right. Technology is where we are. It used to be where we are going, but it's where we are right now as we speak. For efficiency in all the processes in business operations, we need technology.
Right.
Number one, it reduces costs because what should be done by 5 people with technology can do it with 2 people.
Okay.
Okay, so it also improves in understanding your market. Okay, because when you use the digital analytic tools like your X, your Google, how the market is responding to
Let
your
me just
products.
hold you there, Trinity. I think we can proceed with this response in the third segment, so that we get more time in you explaining it. Thank you very much, viewers, for joining us for the second segment. We'll be back shortly with the final segment. Welcome back to the final segment of Your Wealth. Today we're talking about SME survival, and I'm joined by Trinity Mukewa, who is an economist, analyst, and also an SME expert. So we're just discussing on strategies in which SMEs can use in order for them to survive. Now, coming back to you, Trinity, how important is branding and marketing in helping SMEs stand out in crowded industries?
Okay, branding defines who you are. Branding defines your. I think it defines the product that you're selling to the market or that you have introduced to the market. So it represents your beliefs. When you're branding, you are trying to market segment. Okay. For SMEs, because there is stiff competition from big corporates, your branding must communicate what product you are selling. It doesn't necessarily have to be cheap, because there's a misconception where people just think because it's an SME, they have to sell cheap products. No, you can be an SME, but focusing on a niche which respond to high quality goods. Okay, high quality goods and services. So this is also communicated by your branding. When they look at you, the quality which is there communicates the value proposition clearly, that what expectations do I have with this product. Okay. So branding is important. It sets you apart. It defines you. Then marketing. Marketing is listening actively to what your clientele is after, because needs and wants, they evolve. You need to, when you're in business, you need to constantly check if there are changes in the preferences of your target market. So marketing, you need to mine as much data, understand your market, improve on your deliverables, so that your market is satisfied. When the market is satisfied, you will have retained customers, because like I mentioned before, the lifeline of an SME is maintaining customer retention. So you need to have a good proposition. This is your branding, and also marketing, understanding actively what your market or your clientele is expecting from your deliverables.
Yes. All right. Well, what financial management practice can SMEs adopt to ensure sustainability during tough economic times?
Okay. SMEs, like we have discussed previously, they do not have options or broader options in terms of getting financial assistance. So they have to look look within, if I may say it that way. I'm telling you, expecting money from outside will be difficult. But when you cut costs, improve on your cash flow management. Make sure that the receivables are done in promptly, and you also promote payments on time, or discount early payments. More those who owe you, when they pay earlier than expected, you should introduce discounts. These discounts will help you to, because as an SME you need to be having a liquidity, as compared to larger corporates, because your business is running in an agile form, where you have to adapt every day. So there's need to be having a buffer stock of cash, where you can take advantage of opportunities that just arise, which were not expected, or meet unexpected expenditures.
Right.
Yes.
All right. Now, can you just share with us at least one success, for example, of SMEs that have overcome stiff competition, and what lessons can be drawn from them?
Okay, I'll tell you that's a difficult one. Why? Is what I think, because maybe anzichika na uchidya utaurise, because those who are successful, I don't know, they are shy to actually showcase their success.
Okay.
Maybe they are afraid of the tax men. We don't know. But what I'm telling you is, people, small to medium enterprises, are making money.
Okay.
They are very successful, but I think they are shy to just what? To just speak out.
Okay.
Because maybe they are afraid that when you are noticed that you are making money, somebody's on your back or wanting you to comply with checks. But I'll give you an example. I'm in finance, so that's where my lanes are.
Okay.
So maybe we can talk of GetBack. GetBacks was a microfinance institution, but now I understand they are now have obtained their banking license. They are now recognized as a bank, which is applaudable. Comparing, or when you look at the financial sector in Zimbabwe, which was a bit struggling, then you have a small to medium enterprise graduating to become a full commercial bank. That's so applaudable. I would also give example of companies in funeral police and insurance services. They are also doing very well. Those who are into food, they are also doing very well. But generally, SMEs are doing very well, performing very well, despite the difficult conditions that they find themselves in.
All right. Now, as we close, in brief, what are the most common mistakes that SMEs make when trying to outcompete, their rivals, and how can they avoid them?
We need to understand that you will never win a war with the big boys in the game.
Okay.
In terms of pricing, some would want to, like that misconception that I was talking about, where you think that saying I'm the cheapest guy in town gives you business. You cannot sell a compromised product cheap, then you expect that the market will respond or will accept that product. But rather, you can just focus on a niche market, not necessarily selling cheap, but being affordable.
Okay.
Sell a good product to a niche market, but being very affordable, which means you're not compromising the quality that you're giving to your clients. Okay, but we have just segmented a niche market. But now, if you are a small enterprise, then you want to go to price war with big guys.
Big guys, yeah.
You have a disadvantage in terms of economies of scale. These guys, they are given credit facilities. they can be supplied on credit. So these are, it's one of the mistakes that SMEs do, to try to enter into a war with big established corporates.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you very much, Finity, for coming through to your wealth. It's always a pleasure having you here, and thank you for giving tips to these SMEs so that they can continue operating in this economic challenges that you were just referring to. So thank you very much for coming through.
Thank you so much, Kuzi.
Well, thank you very much for joining us right here on Your Wealth. My name is Kuza Fium Chenchikwa. See you next week.